Back there? Okay, we are streaming. I'll call the meeting to order. It is 9:32. Start with any additions to the agenda, anything extra from administration?
No.
Council, Councilor Prestige.
If I could get, or through the chair, something put on for dust control for 594 east of Blue Ridge.
We can put that, 594.
Yes.
So I'll have that as 8.1 under new business. Dust control, east of Blue. Anything else from council? Not seeing any. If I get a motion to adopt the amended agenda, Councilor Burrows.
I'll make a motion to adopt the agenda as amended.
Thank you, Councilor. Call the question. All in favor? That's moved. Meeting minutes, 4.1, we have two different meeting minutes. We'll start with council meeting from June 4th, 2025. Any additions, omissions, errors? Councilor Wilhelm.
I'll motion to accept the council meeting minutes of June 4th, 2025 as presented.
Thank you, Councilor. Call the question. All in favor? It's moved. And from the council meeting from June 18th, 2025, any errors? Councilor Burrows.
Make a motion that we adopt the council meeting minutes from 18 June 2025 as presented.
Thank you, Councilor. Dan, I'll call the question. All in favor? So moved. Brings us, you see right on time here, 9:35, our first delegation from Whitecourt Communications, 6.1. With that, if I can get a motion to go into closed session, Councilor Wilhelm.
I'll motion the council move into closed session with Whitecourt Communications at 9:33.
let us know when we're back on there.
And I can make motion 3.
Okay, Cal, if you wanna make motion 3.
You're good? Move that council receive the presentation from Whitecourt Communications for info.
Making sure we're on, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Motion from Councillor Dean to accept this information, call the question, all in favor? And that's carried. Moving down, 7.1, county logo policy.
It's me. Okay, so before you, you have the county logo policy. The original policy was done in 2014. It contained policy and procedure within it, so we've just segregated that into a policy and now procedure. And we're asking for you to rescind policy 1209 and 1209-01, and then adopt the policy AD 2.003, recognizing that the visual guide will be now in Appendix A, so if it needs to change, the CAO can do that.
Councillor Dean?
Through the chair to administration, reading through the RFD, everything makes sense. So just wonder, what is the practice now? Because the recommended action, as you say, gives CAO the authority to authorize any third-party use or
Right.
So what happens right now?
So right now, in our current policy, it's still the same thing, it's just through the policy, not through the procedure.
Councillor Dean?
I'd move that council rescind policy 1209, logo use policy, and policy 1209-01, Woodlands Visual Identity Guide.
Any discussion on that motion? Not seeing any, I'll call the question, all in favor? That's moved. You got a second motion, Councillor Prestige?
I'll make a motion that council adopt policy AD 2003, county logo policy as presented.
Thank you, Councillor.
Just a
Councillor,
point of clarification. This is, the current policy is 82-004. Is it not?
1 second.
And the motion's asking for 2.003.
Just let me double check, sorry. Yeah, it should be. I just didn't
policy
print it.
2.004.
Sorry, I got too many screens open, hold on. Oh, I didn't. It's just logging in. You are correct, it's 2.004.
Just another point of clarification, reading it, that this says policy in our motion, on the other part it says procedure. Should that list procedure then 82.004 or still policy?
No, the policy is 82.004, and the CAO has authority to put in procedure without council.
Okay, thank you for that. So, accept a friendly amendment to 2.004? Okay, so we have an amended motion, the council adopt policy AD.2004, county logo policy as presented on the floor. Any discussion on that motion? Any more? I'll call the question, all in favor? And that's moved. 7.2, local authorities pension plan.
Yes, I'll take that one. So before you is LAPP, new policy. Remember, LAPP is a defined benefit plan, and there are rules and regulations that must be followed. And the old policy was flagged by the auditors because it was not in compliance with the rules and regulations. So I've decided to update our new policy to be in line with the LAPP rules and regulations. My administration is just requesting council to rescind the old policy, which was reviewed in 2003, and adopt the new policy.
Discussion on council on this? Council Wilhelm?
A motion that council rescinds pension plan policy number 1960-01, originally approved on October 7th, 2003.
Thank you, Councilor. Discussion on the motion? Not seeing any, I'll call the question. All in favor? That takes us to our second motion. Councilor Cluden?
Yeah, I'll move the council adopt policy number HR 7.010, local authorities pension plan policy, LAP as presented.
Thank you, Councilor. Discussion to the motion? Not seeing any, I'll call the question. All in favor? That's moved. Added item here, 8.1, under new business, 594 dust control east of the ridge.
Through the chair, this stretch of the road, with 7 or 8 residents on it, we've done it multiple times, free of charge for these residents. I know it's been done for years, and I missed it when it came out when we did our, approved their dust control. But the residents have been contacting me and they're very upset. There's a lot of traffic on that road. It is the main road, the back road from basically Whitecourt all the way to Northbrook. There is a gravel pit on that road that the contractor is supposed to water the road. They have not been doing it. And I know it wasn't on our list, but it used to be on our list. So when we take something off the list, we should explain why we take it off the list. And if we're taking it off the list, we should notify the residents of why we're taking it off the list. But I would like to see it back on the list, just because it's been there for years. I apologize, I missed it, and we got some very upset residents.
I guess I'm not sure, to you or to administration, do we know how many kilometers for the, I don't,
It's
Yeah.
about 1 kilometer.
So the chair is roughly a kilometer, and I counted 8 residents on that stretch. Back in February 26 council meeting, I took the policy on dust control to council. I could not find a official list from the past, the county, but I did search. I've done some search to the past and see what county has, council has authorized county to provide dust control. And the examples I found are generally related to recreational routes, residents living off recreational routes, or there are routes that relate to the county hauling out of our gravel pits. So those are the information I could found for that RFD, and that's what I presented to council. I did not know about this, and it wasn't part of our list last year, which that's the list I had last year. At the end of the day, this is a level service question for council. Currently, from my perspective, if the concern is people hauling and who's supposed to be entering into a road use agreement with us, and which we can enforce, if they're not entering, that's the enforcement issue. If they are entering, then it's up to us to enforce that agreement. I think those two should be exhausted first before even council considering using county money to pay for dust control. Because I priced it out last night. Just the materials use itself is a $4,000 touch. That's not including the staff time and the equipment hours to put down the material and get it ready. So that's the price tag. And I also worry there is a bit of precedence here is if we are supplying dust control for this, and what other areas may come up. That's my comment. I recognize this is a council decision. I just want to provide those 2 cents.
And just for clarification, the municipality did not do that section last year, you said?
What was that?
Through the chair, I have a spreadsheet from last year at the beginning of May. It wasn't on that list. It may have been. It's all possible. If Councillor Prestige have information from the foot on the ground, I'm not going to.
Councilor Prestige?
You can see on the road that calcium was done last year. This did come to council a few years back, and it was approved to do it. I can't remember when. And we had a meeting in Blue Ridge about infrastructure, and it was brought up by the residents then, and Andre said he was gonna do it. So I don't know if he didn't do the documentation or not, but I know it was said that they would do it.
Before I get to Councillor Wilhelm, is it possible if we move this to our next council meeting and be able to provide some type of historical data that you can find and pricing and maybe a map? Because right now, like I understand we have the res, but I don't really have a full picture as to what was done in the past or where we are, or kind of how, even if we approve it, how the, budgetary, how the impact would be. Would that be something that administration could get together for our next meeting?
Through the chair, I can certainly bring some information back in the next council meeting. I'm just going to say that by the time of the next council meeting, maybe if council decide to apply, it'll be a late application.
Councillor Wilhelm? And then Councillor Dean.
Yeah, through the chair, council, I mean, I understand Bruce's concern, especially the residents, but I mean, in the end, we wanted to create a cold mix program that was based on policy, not based on one-offs. And this would essentially be an unbudgeted expense, not that it's a significant expense, but it would be an unbudgeted expense. I mean, I have Range Road 120, we selected portions of that road to do cold mix on as per the policy that we approved. And yeah, there's people that are upset about that, but that's the policy that we approved because we wanted to see how it would affect the maintenance cycle on that road. I mean, I understand your concern, Bruce, but this is what we approved. And now you want to add an unbudgeted expense for six households. It's kind of a tough call when we decided we wanted to make objective policy decisions, not subjective ones like this.
Councillor Dean?
So I see a distinction between cold mix rehab and a plan associated with that and dust control. They're similar, but they're not the same. And the piece that is giving me pause is the fact that historically this has been done. I could draw a parallel to our tax situation with grazing leases, where there's been a change and residents weren't aware of the change, they weren't informed, and now they're asking why was the change made. In my opinion, if we provided that service in the past, this isn't necessarily a failing on anybody's part. This is the fact that the infrastructure department in the past didn't have a good comprehensive list of projects so that our personnel could let us know what's been done in the past, and we could evaluate whether that's something that we want to carry forward with. And so I think this is something that's just slipped through the cracks, and in my opinion, that's not fair to the residents.
Just to that point though, also, if we looked at our plan for last year and it wasn't on that plan, I'm not saying it hasn't been done in the past, but when was it done in the past? We're talking an application 2 years ago, 3 years ago, or is it something that's annual? I don't think we have enough information as far as what was done historically. Councillor Klugen?
Yeah, through the chair, I think that Jeff identified actually how he would proceed now, and that is to make sure that if that at least that the dust control that is required by the road use agreements are in place. I think that currently that is the option that we have, other than go down the road of overriding the policy that we have. So I think for me, if that was pursued, it would probably be the first step, and then we move on from there.
Councilor Prestige?
I would like to see it done this year, because if we wait for another council meeting, it's gonna put it where it's not gonna be effective. Do it this year, revise our policy for next year. Like, it could be what, $6,000 altogether? It's not a big amount. It keeps our residents happy. If we decide next year not to do it, then we notify the residents saying, we're not doing your dust control. These are the reasons why, and deal with it then. But just to stop it and not notify anybody is wrong.
Okay, we've had Councilor Willem, one more, and then we'll make a motion on this.
Just with regards to, we're going to set a precedent here, right? Because now, if we do that section of road that wasn't budgeted for, even though we've done it in the past, now we're gonna have to do the rest of Range Road 120 that was unbudgeted, even though we've done it in the past every year. So we're now changing service levels again, based on changing policy.
I'll let Councilor Dean first. Councilor Dean?
So I have a comment, but I just question. So you're saying that the entire length of Range Road 120 had dust control applied in the past?
Mhm.
Okay. My comment was gonna be that we have a resident who historically had dust control applied in front of their property, wasn't on the list. And so the resident called and said, hey, are we gonna get this dust control again? And so I, notified administration, and Jeff had a look and he says, well, it's not on there. I said, it's always been done. And so he added it to the list. So in terms of setting a precedent, that's an example of something that wasn't on the list because the list didn't capture it. What you're talking about is two different things. To me, this was on the list and we would have approved it. But it wasn't on Jeff's list, so he wasn't aware of it. Otherwise, he would have brought it to our attention and we would have evaluated and likely said, yeah, let's go ahead and do that again, because we have been doing it over and over again.
Councilor Prestige?
Like, the precedent is set already, because it has been done for years. Let's just do it one more time, and then evaluate it after this year. And then if we decide not to do it, then we notify the residents, say, this is the reason why we're not doing it anymore. But just to stop midstream, it's not right.
Okay, and just to administration question, I know what we're saying, historically it's been done, but when you look back last year, it wasn't on the list, and as far as you can tell, it's something that probably, as far from what we can tell administratively, it probably wasn't done from what you can see.
To the chair, I have a spreadsheet from May, as I said, and let me just quickly address Councillor Wilhelm's reference to Ranger 120. On the same list what I can see is Ranger 120 and Ranger 121. They're getting alternatively, so 1 year 120 will get calcium for the entire length, and the second year 121 will get, so they alternate. No? That's, so from the spreadsheet I can tell, from May last year, it was not on the list. I haven't visited the site, so Councilor Prestige may very well be right, it was applied. It wasn't on the list.
Councilor Burrows?
Yeah, Thanks, through the chair to, I guess, council. And I guess this is the quagmire that we find ourselves in. So back in 2019, I think the policy came before us when we had to take out a $10 million line of credit just to operate the municipality. We had no money in the bank at all, it was gone. And at the time, we stopped all the dust control. Now, I found out later that they were still doing dust control they weren't doing dust control, they were doing stabilization on Range Road 120 and some of these high traffic areas. So this is the issue that we run into with this product being exactly the same product for dust control and stabilization is we can't tell which one's which. And sometimes it's on a hill and I've got residents like, how come they got dust control and I didn't? Oh, it's slope stabilization. Oh, that's the same thing. So this is where, now we're starting to see where the issue of, and I know for dust control, it's applied at what, quarter the rate? And for stabilization, it's typically a little heavier, but this is the issue with this policy. So, and I'm gonna agree with Bruce on the level of service change. So if there's something that we were doing and that we changed the level of service on, we should be notifying people so that they have a chance to say, hey, this is not a good idea, you want to just stop in the middle. I don't know where to go on this one, because I don't want to just say, yeah, okay, go ahead and do it, but, so I would support moving it to the next meeting so that we can figure out if it was done in the past, and if it was, then
Also, moving next meeting gives us the opportunity to look at the
I'll use.
haul permits that are on there and just see if the permits are being followed as far as watering or stability or dust control on the truck end too. Jeff?
Would council be open to decisions through email and then rectify through the next meeting? There's a timeline issue as well.
If you feel you have the time to get the information to, I'm sure that we can, review it and take a look via email and rectify it at the next council meeting also, if you want to move it that way. Councillor Prestige?
We have the crew here working. If we leave it till they're gone, then we'll be paying to bring them all back, and it's gonna be a lot more money.
I do understand the concern, but on that, I don't have any historical information in front of me, and from what administration can see, from what they've looked at in their paperwork, I'm taking, word that this has been done and this has been done over and over and over, but what we're showing from administration right now, that they don't show that last year too. I need more information before I can make a better, an educated decision on this. Councillor Dean?
I'm just prepared to make a motion.
Okay.
I'd move that council directs administration to apply dust control to the 1 kilometer section of 584 that has had that dust control applied in the past.
Okay, motion on the floor, discussion to the motion. Not seeing any, call the question, all in favor? Opposed? Okay, so dust control is approved. 9.1, council reports, start Council Prestige.
It's been pretty late. I'll start with the Blue Ridge Rec area, Alberta Transportation Pit. They are crushing the remaining gravel in it to pave Highway 43, so by fall, this pit will be completely completed. And I was talking to the contractor, and they are fully aware that we would like to take that pit over, so they're willing to work with us to do reclamation. So that's a good thing. And one of the other things in Blue Ridge, the old school site, we mow the grass, but where the actual school was, it's kind of gravelly and stuff, and there's weeds this tall. We go after residents when they don't mow their grass, and we should be doing the same. Other than that, hasn't been a lot. I went to the Zone 3 meeting yesterday. There was some good information there on policing and school property, or property to build schools on, which really doesn't apply to us too much, but it was good information. So that was a good meeting. Other than that, not much.
Any questions, Councilor Prestige? Councilor Burrows?
Yes, thanks, Mr. Chair. So June 16th, I went to the land use buying workshop. So I've been following my way through that, generally pretty happy with the way that process is going. And I think it's one of the more thoughtful processes I've been involved in. So I really appreciate the work that the staff and the coordinator and members of our community are putting into that particular thing. This is kind of an RMA thing that I was part of, but affects rural municipalities as well. So there was a fire level of service engagement conversation, and just so council's aware, the province is looking at mandating that what they were afraid of was that they're looking at mandating a minimum level of service on fire response. I think what's the question they're actually asking is there are some municipalities out there that don't have a level of service on fire response, and they're strictly looking at mandating that you develop a level of service for your firefighting. And we've had some good conversations around that, and we're trying to find a compromise somewhere in between, you know, how much of a level of service, and then also getting too carried away, because the cost of equipment and finding volunteers for these fire departments is getting harder, not easier. Also, there's a huge insurance component that works into that as well. So if you have a certain fire response, your insurance company will drop your premium. And so we're trying to look at that at a bigger, whether municipalities necessarily have the horsepower to do it. So we're trying to look at that in a bigger way, because if you can save residents $200 on their insurance, but you're putting an extra $50 on their taxation for it, then it makes sense, and you can at least have the conversation. Right now, we're not able to do that, so hopefully we'll see that in the future. Zone 3 meeting, went to and presented on behalf of RMA a little bit as well. We had some good conversations, and I kind of heard something, and I wanted to verify it with Fortis, but there's a policy that they have now that they're able to, and you know, nobody panic that this is going to happen all the time, but during high wind situations, and dry conditions, there are fires that start on some of the transmission lines, and they're actually looking at blacking out some of those lines that might be affected and reverse feeding, so to make sure that people don't drop out of service. But during high wind events and times when you may spark a forest fire, and there's a lot of criteria involved in this, you may actually experience some power interruptions, and that's why you're seeing it. It's a fire-related response from them, just so that everybody's aware. Yeah, I went to Stampede with RMA as well, and we did some considerable conversations with ministers, and yeah, it's been a really busy week, busy couple weeks.
Any questions for Councilor Burrows? Councilor Prestige?
Just to add some more information for the Fortis, Peter and I had a conversation with Nikki from Fortis after. Something I wasn't aware of is if a power line goes down the edge of your property, there's a 20-foot easement on your property. They are not responsible for the trees in that easement. It is the property owner. The only time they will come in is if the tree is actually gonna touch the power line. They will come and cut the tree. And same thing with the road right away. It's not their responsibility to cut the trees down in the road right away. It's municipality or transportation. I always thought that once they did an easement, that they would look after the trees in that easement, and she says, nope, they're not responsible. So it's something to think about.
Counselor Dean?
Like everybody here, I had a fairly light schedule from the time of our last council meeting. Attended the land use bylaw workshop, and I would agree that the process is giving us a really good opportunity to flesh out all the questions that people have. There's, I think, a later RFD is going to talk about the public engagement sessions that are being proposed. So we'll see if we get any additional feedback there. On June 20th, I attended the Chamber Golf Tournament and spent an afternoon with the newly minted Chamber President, which was a good opportunity to share ideas and network, and that was a nice afternoon. And then on Monday, I attended that zone meeting along with Councillor Burrows, Prestige, and Cook, and I think they've covered everything.
Thank you. Questions for Counselor Dean? Counselor Willem?
So I had two things since the last meeting. One of them was a board meeting for Lac St. Anne Foundation. You'll see in our agenda package, we have a letter of support for Lac St. Anne acquiring the property in Whitecourt at the bottom of the hill where there was previously supposed to be a housing project going in there. The reason why we're trying to acquire it is, at this meeting, we approved our strategic plan for the next 5 years that includes an expansion of services in the region, and acquiring that land is a big part of that for potentially building a large 100-plus door facility to service the seniors in the region, as well as expanding in Marithorpe. By August, we'll have our new our new revenue structure in place, and then in February of 26, release of what the capital projects would be and the timelines on that. So that foundation's doing an excellent job with what we have on meeting the needs of the seniors and low-income people in our community. So excited for where we've gone with that in the last 4 years. And then in that same day in the afternoon, we had an economic development strategic plan meeting. And again, some of the stuff that comes out of that is going to be an RFD that is today, where we discussed the future of that committee, where we'd like to go, how do we engage members of the committee to be more active in economic development, and how we potentially engage the community a little bit more for involvement in the economic development committee, and driving that mission forward in our region. So that's all I have.
Any questions, Councillor Wilhelm? Councillor Coogan?
Yeah, I guess since last meeting, I did attend the land use workshop again. And John covered that pretty well. It's the evening of Wednesday, the 18th of June. And then on the 20th, we had a general meeting for growth, where we are now kind of turning the corner on the what that organization is going to look like, and I hope to have all of the presentation material ready for the council here as to what we see in the future at the next meeting. Then we had the Ag Service Board resolution response for grading that on the 23rd, and unfortunately we didn't have quorum, but we did finally get through that through emails and stuff, and approved those. And then on the 25th, we had a sort of a kickoff meeting here to identify what we were going to do on the tourism part of the tourism portion of growth responsibility to that with Wild Alberta. Then on the 27th, we had a special board meeting at Barhead District and Social Housing, and it was there that we started to discuss The new business plan, BART and District Social Housing did purchase a big property within the town of Barhead to now expand that, so we discussed that in the business plan. And it'll be interesting to see now once that's finalized, and I will present that as well when it is. Then on the 10th was my next meeting, and that was a really deep dive down into rebranding the tourism portion of what we do and identifying how that will benefit the community. And I did that along with both our economic development officer and the executive assistant. And I have to say that it was a pretty intense meeting. There were a lot of things hammered out. The contractor that's doing the work on the website has a really good handle on how it has to be developed to be effective. And I think this is probably the first time that we've had that professional work being done. It took a lot to convince the board to do it this way, but I think we're on a good path and a good direction. And then I also attended the meeting on the 14th in Edmonton with John and Bruce, and they've covered pretty much all of the topics that were there. So that's been my last little while.
Thank you, Councillor. Any discussion with Councillor Coogan? No? Mine's been fairly quiet. I'll just go over just what hasn't been touched on here. In Salmawag, I had a meeting out there. They're looking at adding a gazebo to their property outside of the hall. They do rent it for lots of weddings and every community events and stuff in there. So anything they can kind of do to beautify or I guess add more to the hall. So looking to see what they come up with that. Golf tournament, again, fantastic day. Got to spend golfing. I guess chasing my balls in the bush there quite a bit, but it's always good to get out for my annual once over there. Had a industry meeting, Green Gables, end of last month with a bunch of the business heads here. Again, markets are slow, where they're especially on the wood and the lumber side and where they are. Oil and gas seems to be moving though. A couple of the guys there are saying that they're busier than they've ever been. So I guess we have that kind of yin and yang right now, but I know on the lumber side, they're definitely taking out their expenses and tightening things up to make sure that they're still viable and running in the future as we're getting through. They're just the uneasiness in the markets right now. And I'm sure this is a cycle, everything bounces back, but we're still in a better position here, they're saying, than some of their other, I guess, corporate mills and stuff that they have within their inventory there. And lastly, I just would like to, might have to go out to Sheldon or to the Whitecourt Fire Department, but want to thank them for the quick response to the landfill fire here last week. You know, that went up quick and you could see the smoke from town here, and the trucks, they took off, fairly quick. They had them organized on the way out there. So great job to all the fire departments who responded to that. And that is all I've got right now. If there's anything. Councillor Dean?
Yeah, just a question with respect to the extension of the curtailment for Miller Western. Did that conversation come up as to why and what they expect?
Representatives from Miller Western weren't at this one. I know discussions they've had before, a lot of it is pulp prices were in the tank. China has overproduced, and where they are is just, they'd be running at a loss is what they were before. So I don't know what the plan is or how much longer they're sitting, but there was no further update. I know that definitely affects a lot of people in the area, so it would be nice to see that up and going, but again, that's I guess business sense and what they gotta do to try to keep the lights on or at least the doors open. So anything else? Councillor Prestige?
I'll make a motion that council receive the council reports for information.
Thank you, Councillor. With that, I'll call the question. All in favor? That's passed. Go through a couple more here, then take a break. We got 11A.1 Woodlands County Economic Development Committee, proposed changes to committee composition.
Excellent. Thank you, Reeve. Good morning, council. And wonderful to be here in front of you once again. As has been mentioned, we did have a strategic planning session at the end of June with the Economic Development Committee. And from that comes a motion that is before you today. We also have some additional information from administration as well. So I'll start just with reading the recommendation, and that is that Woodlands County Council direct administration to bring an amended committee bylaw for the ECDEV committee terms of reference in the third quarter of this year, and that it be amended as recommended by the Economic Development Committee. The proposed amendment is given in the motion, which is EDC 1557-2025. The Woodlands County Economic Development Committee recommends to Council that the composition of the Woodlands County ECDEV Committee be amended to consist of 2 council members and 5 members at large, and that an invitation also be extended to an honorary member to attend every second meeting to provide professional expertise. And that was moved by Shelley Hattel and then carried to bring forward for discussion today. Upon reviewing the motion and preparing the RFD, administration has identified that if we're going to go this route of looking at changing committee composition, another option would be to reduce the overall size of the ECDEV committee. What we were trying to address is to address quorum issues and some other operational issues that we've been having within the committee. So the intent of reducing quorum would help to prevent any rise in operational costs that would occur if we had an additional member added. And it also, as part of the option recommended, is that we reduce then the number of members at large to 3 from the current number of 4. And then the honorary member, when that is added, you would still have input from 4 members of the public at the Economic Development Committee meetings, and we would only need to have 2 councillors to attend. So the committee there's some information there under rationale. We do meet approximately 10 times per year, and in addition to some of the other items that are there, the other comment coming basically from administration is that ease of use or ease of scheduling, being able to schedule meetings during the daytime to reduce staff overtime, all of those other things can all be addressed, as the committee has discussed as well, by reducing to two members of council and the 3 members at large plus honorary member. That addresses it, as well as switching to the 2 to the 5 as is in the recommended motion. So that's all for discussion for council today. Going back to the recommendation on the RFD, in order to implement this for this fall, so that the committee changes would take place, we would have to bring the terms of reference first to a GMP meeting and then probably to a September council meeting for final approval, so that we can get the changes done in time for this next selection cycle for members at large, be it 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 or whatever council may determine it should be. So we have a bit of a timeline process. I hope I did an okay job presenting that and I didn't muddle it up too badly. So there's a few things there to discuss.
Councilor Will?
So through the chair to council and I guess administration. Yeah, that was a lot of numbers you threw at us for there. 2, 3, 5, anyways. So just for context, from my side, the discussion around why we decided to go with 2 and 5 was in the strategic meeting, we wanted to find if we could utilize the committee to engage the community a little bit more. So during our discussions, we felt that, there was we didn't find it necessary to have 3 council members on it. Why do we need to have 3 council members on it? Why don't we open up that additional position and try to strategically find members of our business community to join, to be members at large. So utilizing that additional space on that committee to specifically target members at large that could bring a lot of value into the committee and move the committee's strategic agendas forward. So that's where the discussion came from. We were looking at various compositions and we kind of settled on 2 and 5. The options, I don't think we ever discussed that at all in the strategic.
No, and then what happened was the option recommended by administration was something that came out of the administrative discussion as we were reviewing the RFD, because when we started to look at overall costing and what would be kind of most effective, looking at it through the lenses with the leadership team and all of that, that was where the idea for the 2 and 3 came forward, because a smaller committee can be more effective, it can be more pointed, would be easier to meet, it would get us around some of the scheduling issues that we've had. There just seem to be a number of benefits to that, where if we go with to the 2 and 3, it does satisfy that idea of it lessens the burden on council because we only have 2 councillors instead of 3, but it also keeps a solid balance on the committee because we have a more balanced committee between members at large, members of council. And it would allow us to, I think, just overall work more effectively.
So just to follow up, like, I understand where the recommendation is coming from, but it's almost directly in opposition of what we had planned in the strategic plan. Like, the reason why we wanted to open up and have more members at large from the community was to create flexibility so that if not everybody could come, there would be more people available. So if you shrink the size of the committee, does that not necessarily handcuff us for scheduling? That's what would create, in my opinion. If we shrink the size of the committee, you have less people available to come to committee meetings. So I'm not in favor of shrinking it at all. I kind of like after a robust discussion, sticking with the 2 and 5 because it left us with a lot of flexibility for the committee, and then also gave a very varied amount of opinions on that committee, which is what we were looking for.
Councillor Dean?
Through the chair to council, I guess. This committee, in terms of applicants for members of large, has for the last 3 years been oversubscribed, so we've had to make choices. I don't think that there'll be a problem finding 5 members at large. And with respect to the current list of strategic objectives for the committee, having more people enables that committee to meet those strategic objectives. So I would agree with Councillor Wilhelm that the committee structure of 2 council members and 5 members at large would be what I would vote for.
So,
Councillor Burrows?
Mr. Chair, just a point of procedure, I guess, where we go from here. So are you looking for a motion to send this to GNP, or are we just gonna get this straight back to us again?
Through the chair, if I could answer Councilor Burrows, and it'll probably address your question. Like, I mean, we're discussing it right now, so I don't understand
Right.
why it would need to go to a GNP first. But like,
Again, I'm
this
just-
is essentially
I'm
a policy
following up
discussion.
with something our economic development officer said, so.
First?
Yes, so it's my understanding that it would have to go to GNP so that we can do the TOR review. And then the recommendations on the TOR review would then come to the next council meeting after. Is that correct, Tracy?
We can do it that way, yep. Because with discussions with you,
Yes.
we were gonna change some of the stuff in the TOR, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that, you guys might wanna review those changes before going back to another council.
That makes sense. Councillor Dean?
So the recommended action just says to bring an amended committee bylaw terms of reference in Q3, so that should that say to a future GNP
Yeah, we can put that.
committee meeting in Q3?
Yep.
Okay, so I'd make that motion, that Woodlands County Council direct administration to bring an amended committee bylaw for Economic Development Committee terms of reference to a upcoming GNP meeting in Q3 as recommended by the Economic Development Committee.
Are you speaking to the motion?
Speaking of the motion, can I make a friendly amendment and ask it to be brought to the August 20th GNP meeting? That's the next available one.
I don't know if I know the August 20th is already pretty full. Is that possible?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, sure.
I only ask because if the next GMP is not till September, we need to send out the advertisements for applications
Sure.
in September, so.
Okay, so, motion to bring this to the GMP on August 20th. Any discussion on that motion? Not seeing any, I'll call the question. All in favor? And that's moved. 11A2, time extension request, 2023 sub 02. Morning, Joshua.
Good morning, Chair. Good morning, Council. This item is just a time extension request for subdivision application. For a subdivision application. The applicant here is seeking a extension because he still needs time to construct one approach prior to the plan being endorsed. This is for application number 2023 sub 02, so pretty straightforward. We're recommending the council approve the requested extension. So that to you for discussion.
Just checking, all the rest of, the conditions have been met, the
That's
approach is left.
Yeah.
Okay. Councilor Wilhelm?
I'll make a motion that council approve the request for a time extension to register subdivision application 2023 sub 02 to May 3rd, 2026.
Thank you, Councilor. Any discussion on that motion? Not seeing any, I'll call the question. All in favor? That was moved. 11A3, land use bylaw update, timeline for council consideration.
Perfect, thank you. As many of you are aware, and thank you for your continued participation in those, in our land use workshops that we've been holding. Administration, we just wanted to provide some information on when we're planning to bring the land use bylaw for first reading to council. So there's some considerations in here and timing. It's a little bit tight, but what we're looking at is basically, for first reading, there's two times that we are looking at bringing it for first reading: August 13th or August 20th, which would be a special council meeting. If it's agreeable to council, administration is recommending that we hold a special council meeting on August 20th for first reading for the land use bylaw. This will give us a little bit more time to receive comments from the public. It's a pretty large document, so if we release it, we're finishing legal review at the end of this week. So we'll have all of legal's comments in the document, and that will be released to the public. There is a draft available right now for the public to review, but this will give them more time to consider all of legal's considerations in that draft itself. It'll give them a little bit more time to read it, considering it is 170 pages. So it would still work for our timing to get a public hearing scheduled for September 10th at 5:15 p.m. so we can meet all the legislative requirements. So the tentative timeline would be then August 20th, first reading. September 10th would be a public hearing. If council wishes to do second and third reading on September 10th, you could. Or if you feel like you need more time to consider the bylaw itself, you could then bring second and third, we could do second and third reading on September 24th. So that's the timeline that we have set forward right now. I also would like to give an update on some of the public engagement taking place this week. So we held our first public engagement session in Anselmo last night. Went very well. We heard very good comments from the public, from those in attendance. Tonight we have the Whitecourt info session, and then tomorrow we're in the Fort, and those are running 4:30 to 6:30 p.m. So we will take any comments that we get from those, and those will be incorporated to the law if we have any changes to make. I think right now we've dialed it down pretty good, and I think we've heard really good things from the public. They seem to appreciate the approach we've taken so far. So with that being said, administration's recommendation is that council schedule a special council meeting for August 20th at 4 p.m. before GMP.
Thank you, Councilor. Discussion? Yes. Councilor Rose?
Just a question, so through the chair, I know we'd kind of broken the airport discussion out of this on the land use side, so if you're looking at completing all of this land use, I mean, the airport's caught up in that. So if we do first, second, third reading and pass it, the airport's gonna be in that, right?
Through the chair, Council Gross, that's correct. So the approach we've taken with the airport is because recognizing it's such a complex part of the bylaw, what we've done is we've had past legal recommendations on some things in the airport districts that we need to change. So those we've changed. But overall, we've left the districting as is until we can gather more information, bring it to council, and basically have a similar process to what we've done in the past, where we bring it to council, we'll give some information on some approaches we can take at the airport. We really want council's feedback. But yes, we will be adopting the bylaw as is. The airport is basically status quo. We haven't made much changes until we could do a more in-depth review. But to answer your question, it's a simple amendment. We can do it as a standalone amendment. We can, once we have that airport information, we can just make the amendment to the bylaw. I just don't want the airport to hold up everything else in the bylaw, considering the complexity of it. I don't want to rush it. We want to do it right, so, and we want to make sure council is on board with the direction that we take at the airport.
Anything else? I'll see Councillor Kuchen and Councillor Dean.
Yes, I'll make a motion that council schedule a special council meeting for a land use bylaw to be held on August 20th, 2025 at 4 p.m.
Thank you. Councillor Dean, did you speak to the motion? Or?
Yeah, no, I was just gonna make the motion, but that's fine.
So motion on the floor, any discussion on the motion? Not seeing any, I call the question, all in favor? That's moved. There's a second motion.
Sure,
Councillor
I'll
Dean?
make that one. I move that council receive this report as information regarding the anticipated timeline for bringing forward the draft land use bylaw for consideration.
Thank you, Councillor. Again, call the question, all in favor? That's moved. 11A.4, 2025 Quarterly Community Services Operational Report.
Good morning, Council, and thank you, Chair. So attached is the quarterly report for the Community Services Department. Protective Services, as you can see, there's been quite a bit of fire department training being completed, along with discussions with asset management and inventory for the departments and what that'll look like. Several meetings has been held with the GOA with respect to wildfire, our AFRAX, our radio system, and as well as meetings with the fire chiefs and emergency management internal meetings. Health and safety, as usual, we're doing our monthly meetings as well as we have additional meetings internally with each department. Our joint health and safety meetings have been held quarterly. County emergency management meeting. I've been looking at doing some health and safety and emergency management revisions. She's also been doing some establishment of some training for ICS 300 for individuals within the organization for that emergency management team. Planning, of course, primary focus has been on the land use bylaw and hopefully wrapping that process up. Community services, as far as that goes, is of course administratively our FCSS programs, meeting with the various organizations, Barhead in particular. We've got some bursary applications that are currently coming into the organization for fall intake. Klondike Cemetery, I guess, good news is we now have a man gate installed from the parking lot so that people don't have to walk all the way around to get to the site. Recreation has been very ramped up with our new recreation coordinator. Of course, we're going through and looking at ensuring that all of our sites, the leases are up to date and just tracking them down in the organization because over the last 5 years they've been in various department hands, so just trying to gather that information and make sure that we've got them all in order. There's been some good conversations with Alberta Forestry and Parks. We've had a few meetings with them and some partnerships that we're looking at. One in particular is the Center of Alberta. They'll be starting construction here fairly quickly. So putting in some boardwalks, signage and all that, and then be coming back to us to look to see if the county will take over for just the maintenance of it down the road. Also discussions with Alberta Transportation and Parks as well with respect to the Blue Ridge site, as Bruce had indicated that that pit will be depleted, and looking at the municipality to maybe take that over and do some expansion there as well. So yeah, so lots of exciting things happening on the recreation side now that we've got it back up and running. Economic development. Bert has been busy with various conferences, meetings. As you can see, his list is rather long. Some of the upcoming events, of course, are the Hamlet Hoedown. We've got Ribfest coming up, Alberta Air Tours Aviation event on August 16th, and then, of course, the Blue Ridge Family Fun Day on September 6th. I think the big thing with economic development right now is we're doing the ambassadors. So we have 4 young students that are out going to various recreation areas, as well as some of our businesses in that, and doing the survey to assist us for future discussions on our ICF and what residents want to see as far as recreation goes, new businesses, things like that. So it's been a fairly successful program so far. The students have been very busy at various locations in the municipality. Hopefully everybody's kind of been following on Instagram and Facebook, some of their posts. We're going to do some training actually on Thursday, tomorrow, with them to see if we can maybe ramp up some of the postings that they've been doing, giving a little more detail as far as where they're located, when they're going to be there, so that people, if they want to attend and while they're there, that people will be in the know. So yeah, lots of exciting things been happening.
Councillor Wilhelm and Councillor Dean.
Through the chair to administration, and on the recreational side, is there any like administrative discussion around the older rec master plan that we had, and potentially doing a review on that and bringing it back to council or anything like that? And just with regards to where is this going to go, because we hired our new rec coordinator, and I'm excited to see where we're going to go in the future with this.
Yeah, so through the chair to Councillor Wilhelm, absolutely, that's on her to-do list, is reviewing that document. She's been currently going out to all of the sites, kind of doing an inventory, and then some of that information will be brought through the Community Services Board, and then, yeah, through to council.
Okay,
But
sounds awesome.
Definitely.
Councillor Dean.
Just a couple of questions. One is with respect to the RFP associated with the NRED grant. Can you comment on where we're at in that process?
So we're in the process of developing it. We've met with planning and development to kind of go through some of the parts of it. The ambassador program and a couple of other things we've been doing had to take an immediate priority. So I won't say that it's on the back burner, because it's not on the back burner. It is on my desk. We're working through the process. We should still be able to have it out before the end of July to market. That's the end goal, so that we can have responses back. But based on what we had discussed around the ECDEV committee table, it is going to be less of an engineering review and more of kind of it'll have more of a planning flair style to it on the RFP side. So it's just simply because of what we're asking for aligns closely with some of the knowledge and the experience and expertise we have within planning and development. So it'll be more of a joint project.
Okay, and the second question was with respect to the census. Do we have an idea of a response rate? Is it a good response?
Through the chair to Councillor Dean, census is being done through the Fort Assiniboine office. The last response was about 70% complete. So West Whitecourt, a few left in Anselmo area and a few left in Blue Ridge. We've done a little internal campaign to see if there's some administrative staff that would be interested in going out and trying to do that final push to get that last 30% completed.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Coogan?
Yeah, just a couple of things. I did get a phone call from the moms and tots that are putting that splash park idea together, and had a really good conversation. They would like to make a presentation at some point to council, and my suggestion was, because I'm not aware of all of the different possibilities, but strategically, from my experience, it would be that we need to sit down and, have some kind of a business case done. I said that there are a lot of ways that they can do that, like with connecting with some of the community liaison people from industry to develop a financial strategy as well, because I said that at this point in time, council isn't really in a position to do any great deal of funding, but if we can, put a business plan together, get, business partners and grant partners, there's a possibility then that council would look at it. And I said it would really be important for them to have all their ducks in a row when they come here.
Yeah, through the chair to Councillor Kilken, they have had conversations with our new recreation individual as well as Heather.
Perfect.
Yeah.
So, I would like to stay in that loop if possible, just to make sure that I'm aware exactly of where they're going with that.
Okay.
The second thing is that I did have an opportunity to host the ambassadors, which was quite interesting because they're young people, who some of them are from this area, and we had a really good. I had a really good conversation with all of them. I hope I didn't have them too intimidated, because we all hung out of my side by side and went and parked in the middle of the bison herd. And we have one that's really friendly, but sometimes she's too friendly. She really likes to rub up against you and push you around a bit for attention. And so they got to experience that. The other thing I tried to do was show them, how diverse a farm can be, because we do a lot of different things on our place. And these kids were really good kids. Like, I think that is the next step in profiling our municipalities, because these kids will go out and they'll share those experiences, and I thought that was really good.
Thank you. Anything else for administration? No, if I can get a motion, Councillor Wilhelm?
A motion that council receives the quarterly 2025 Community Services Operational Report for information.
Thank you, Councillor. Call the question, all in favor? And with that, you want to take a quick break? Right, if you can let us know when we're off. Okay, we're back going. We'll start 11B.1 tax penalty waiver.
Yes, good morning again, Council. So before you is a request there for tax waiver. And this is one of those very unfortunate situations where, you know, one of the residents passed on, and in the process, there was a title transfer to the new owner. And in the process, again, you know, the deadline had passed, so that triggered some penalty. But the new owner came and paid all the 2024 and 2025 taxes. So what is left out there is just the penalties. And the current owner is now requesting, you know, council to waive those tax penalties.
Councilor Burrows?
Yeah, and this is actually brought to me, so getting too deep into the issue, the land, the tax rule in question, the individual lost his mom. And so he's going through all the details of dealing with that. And then the land was willed to him, so in the process of the title change, the information I got was that he missed it by 30 days because of the estate being in probate, so they can't pull funds or do anything. So that was the rest of the details for it. So I brought this at his request, and I'm hoping we get some support on compassionate reasons.
Any other discussion from council on this? I want to make a motion.
Yeah, I'll make a motion that council waives the tax penalty in the amount of $310.06 on tax roll number 10161.
Any discussion on that motion? Not seeing any, I'll call the question. All in favor? That's carried. There's a second motion there.
I'll make a motion that council waives the tax penalty on the amount of $107.72 on tax roll number 35750.
Any further discussion on that motion? Not seeing any, I'll call the question. All in favor? And we'll move. 11B.2 QQ service tracker report.
Okay, the service tracker report, there was a total of 140 requests, which were primarily received for grading services and road services. The total requests for each month continued to stay at the similar level compared to all the previous years. However, last year, they are down from last year.
Anything there stand out? Anyone to discuss? Want to move this, Councilor Wilhelm?
I'll motion that council receives the QT service tracker report for information.
Thank you, Councilor. Call the question. All in favor? That's moved. 11B.3 Q2 2025 corporate services report.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. So the corporate services, starting from finance side, I think our primary focus in the second quarter was the preparation of collection of taxes. And of course, thanks to the dedication of our finance department, and we actually successfully assisted most of the ratepayers throughout June. And I think by the end of June 30th, we've achieved about 93% in collection, which is pretty good. And of course, that is excluding the TIP, that is the tax installment payment plan. So everything is going on good there. Moving on, we also have the system implementations and integrations going on, and we are handling both systems, that is the financial system and also the asset management system. And I think we are on track to achieve our goal by the end of this year. So it's something that has been going on for quite some time here. The other thing that I would like to mention overall is on the staff development. We are working around the clock to train staff as well and make sure that we send them to relevant conferences where they can add value to what they do on a daily basis. Coming to communications, there were a wide range of staff there. Of course, most of them are day-to-day activities that were going on. And of course, as you heard, we've lost our communication person. And we are working to fill that position soon. Coming to legislative services, I think we are seeing a lot of policies being developed. And of course, second quarter also saw various bylaws being passed. And of course, under legislative services, we also have the election. And not talk about that, that's left in the capable hands of Tracy. And I think you're doing a good job there with all the nominations going on and the dates being reflected. Then the last item that probably I would like to mention there would be on the DRP, Disaster Recovery Program. So what I would say is that this continues to be a collaboration effort between, infrastructure, emergency services, finance department, and of course our consultant. And I think we are working around the clock to ensure that we collect payments as they come through. So as we complete the projects, we submit the submissions. Otherwise, apart from that, that's all I have for corporate services for now.
Councillor Preston?
Through the chair, to John. On unpaid taxes, at our meeting yesterday, or Monday, RMA brought up that there's still a lot of unpaid oil and gas taxes that are not being paid. How are we with unpaid oil and gas taxes?
I think, I just don't have the facts in front of me, but I think there were about 2 or 3 of them that are outstanding, and I think we are getting some good response. And I know I have some big file that was put on my desk yesterday. I'll be reviewing it and I'll be sharing that a lot in details with the Tax and Finance Committee August 5th. But I think we're on good track in trying to collect some of those areas.
Anything else? Council? Not seeing any, so wants to make a motion with the report. Councillor Prestige?
I'll make a motion that council accepts corporate service second quarter report for information.
Thank you, Councillor. Discussion to the motion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? Let's move. 11C.1 Cut Banks Road Bank Erosion Update. Mr. Zhang?
Good morning, Your Worship, members of council. I have Sheldon joining me because we work very closely and hand-in-hand dealing with the province on these two, this project and the very next one. So before you is a RFD on Cut Banks Road bank erosion update. I came to council a few times providing updates. The decision was made back in July 17th, 2024, council meeting to consider building a new road as indicated. The next page in black. However, there's a few pieces of new information through the past year that I summarized it and want to provide to council for information. Some of the information had been provided before. This is a summary. Try to summarize all the information. Firstly, the floodplain information was not part of the consultant's report back in June 2024. After subsequent to council's decision of July 17th, we superimposed the proposed road onto a floodplain map. And the proposed alignment will be actually within the floodway and flood fringes, and this got us thinking that replacing a road that's currently in floodplain back to a location in floodplain and flood fringes isn't necessarily the one making a lot of sense. That's the first piece of information. The second piece of information, as I mentioned before, that this project is identified under the DRP 2023, and we've been working with the province trying to establish our eligibility under the DRP program. The province has stated at first that they do not determine eligibility until we finish the project. So we as the county has to take on the risks of making a decision, hoping the province would reimburse us. And after quite a bit of pulling teeth, and we were able to work with the province to encourage the province to come to a determination before we proceed. Otherwise, it's a pretty hefty decision the county has to bear the consequence if the province does not come through with the same determination. Finally, in June, last month, the province have came to determination, which I'll talk about a little bit more in detail. During this period of time, we also had back and forth with the province on how much the width of Quebec Road bank is eligible. The province have gone from 0 to now finally at 100 again on our bank width. The context for that is the province pulled up 2021 satellite map and it showed there's already significant damages to the bank, and the province trying to argue that because the damage were prior to 2023, they're not funding any repairs, so we were able to come up with our rebuttal, and subsequently the province agreed with our assertion that the width, 100% the width erosion should be eligible. Further to that, we, just talking a little bit more on the eligibility side, we submitted an option of $1.6 million, which represent about 310 meters in length of the bank to be repaired, which would represent a baseline option to restore the bank to pre-disaster functional state. The province have done their analysis. They come to conclusion of this is roughly 100. Sorry, let me just find the. I thought I've written that number somewhere. I can't find it. Oh, right here, 140. Seeing a different paragraph. The province came to a determination of 140 meters out of the 310 being eligible, but they will recognize the full width of the bank erosion as what we identified. And that will be our eligibility through the DRP program. And any cost recovery, any recovery reimbursement in the program is subject to a 90-10 split. So the province will pay 90%, the county will have to come out 10%. This is the newest piece of information that we have that we want to share with council, and subsequent to sharing the information, subsequent to that piece of information, we also want to share that the construction needs to be completed by November 2026, which represents 3 years after the first determination of the RP eligibility, which was determined in November 2023. So that's what that number came from. That's the timeline we need to get construction projects completed in order to be eligible to receive funding. So time is critical, and we are asking council to consider rescoping the project to limit to 140 meters of bank erosion as per the DRP eligibility, and we will attempt to hire an engineer and environmental consultant as fast as we can, and hopefully the design and pre-tender activities can be done prior to construction next year, and construction to proceed next year, so that we remain eligible for the funding. Although 140 meters is less than what the county may have hoped for, it is nonetheless a significant improvement from today's situation. It is best for us to take the benefit of DRP funding when it's available to us, and get some value out of the DRP funding, and get some protection restored. When if assuming council's okay with the direction, when we hire an engineer, we'll make sure the engineering design is slightly larger than what the promises scope, just so that if it will give us more choices when it comes to tender. We always have the choice of tendering something bigger than the promises eligibility and scale back if we don't have the funding or the means, or if something is just beyond the timeline that we can deliver it, right? If you don't have the design, then you're limited to the scope of work that what you started with. Without reading word for word from my RFP, that's the summary of all the updates I want to bring to council. And if council have any questions, we're willing to take them. And assuming council have no concerns, we ask council's approval for rescoping the project so we can get work started. Thank you very much.
Councillor Dean?
Yeah, through the chair to administration to Jeff, I'm prepared to make a motion based on the recommendation. My question though is, the picture that's included in the RFD that has a section of the road or the bank outlined in red, is that 140 meters or is that the 310 that you had originally hoped for?
Through the chair to Councillor Dean, this is, I think this is the map you're referring to. Yes, this is a box showing the width as what we asked for at 140 meters. I know that I didn't mark 140, but sure.
Okay.
Thank you for asking the question.
Yeah, so with that, I'd move that council directs administration to rescope the Cut Banks Road bank erosion project to bank and riprap restoration based on DRP eligibility.
Thank you, Councillor. Discussion to the motion. Councillor Prestige?
Through the chair to Jeff, on this motion, I like the fact that you're gonna do more engineering. And it goes back to what we discussed a few years ago about having shovel-ready projects. So if you have the engineering done, you can apply for funding, and the engineering's done, it makes it quicker. I really like that.
Any other discussion on the motion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? That's moved. 11C.2, Old Ferry Road Bank Erosion Update.
Your worship and members council, similarly would like to bring this RFD to council to provide updates. These two projects kind of go hand in hand because when we sit down with the province, we discuss all the projects on the docket. So it's around the same time we also hear back from the province on their determination. So subsequent to the previous council meetings on July 17th of 2024, December 4th, 2024, February 26th, 2025, we have a council direction back in 2024 in July to build a new
We have to keep the door open because it's an open council meeting.
Sorry. Sorry. On the July 17th, 2024 meeting, council approved the option of realigning the road subject to public engagement. We have done public engagement in September 2024, but there's lacks of support of road realignment. We, in 2025, in February, after the council meeting, we have applied to Municipal Affairs for funding under the Local Government Sustainability Grant Program, and we were informed in the following month that the program was not funded in budget 2025, so no further funding available at this time. We are currently marking out 2 gravel turnarounds as what we brought to council back in February 26 of 2025, and we plan to build those 2 gravel turnarounds in July 2025. We have been in conversation with DRP, with the province on this project as well. Due to the complexity of this site, the site is very, the river is very different at this location versus Cutbanks. Cutbanks is more of a bank erosion where here there's an active oxbow development. So we did not identify a option for the province to consider. Instead, we just basically gave the report to province, say, pick a long-term solution out of the report. And then the province have reviewed the report. They have chosen one of the options identified by McElhenny as a ground stabilization option as the baseline option to do their calculation. So out of their calculation, the province have determined about 90 meters of the bank that's eligible under the DRP. The province did not challenge us on the width calculation at the site because it's pretty obvious that it was a near 5 meter vertical drop off, so there's not much to debate on the width. But it's the length that the province really debated us on. The province have, as I said, the province have came to a conclusion 90 meters is what we're eligible for. Something to keep in mind is it's not a negotiation, it's essentially what the province is willing to give us. We can make, not even suggestion, I mean, we can ask, and then what they're willing to give. That's kind of the gist of the conversation we have with the province. Similarly, any final reimbursement is subject to a 90% province, 10% county cost split. And the same as the previous project we're subject to a November 2026 construction completion to be eligible under the DRP. And I have attached a map, the very last page of my RFD, showing how much roughly 90 meters extends, to give a visual illustration for that. If assuming council is in favor of the recommendation, again, we'll engage engineering and environmental services speedily and get a project going. The same intent that we're going to design the project slightly larger than what the province's eligibility is, so we have options available to us. Similarly, we would try to get the construction going next year, so that we need to complete all the pre-tender activities prior to construction season next year. And one possibility is we may be able to combine those two projects together into a single tender to enjoy some benefit of economy of scale. And I hope council have seen the power of economy of scale when we try to bundle things together. Similar recommendation from administration is best to take the benefit of the available eligibility from the DRP and give some protection in place. Any protection it's a betterment than what's out there today. With that, I am prepared to answer any questions you may have.
Councilor Dean and Councilor Burrows.
Through the chair to Jeff, looking at the two RFDs, the Cutbanks Road erosion update included an estimate of about 1.6 million based on a 310 meter restoration project. I don't see any estimate within the Old Ferry. I'm wondering if you have a number.
Through the chair to Councillor Dean, the 1.6 for Cutbanks Road was not the province's estimate, that was our consultant's estimate. The difference between the two is Cutbanks, it's very defined site. It's really easy to pick out the option that this is the option to restore to the pre-disaster state. And that's what we present to the province. Whereas Old Ferry would basically present the report with all the options for the province to pick. So that's why I'm not reattaching the whole table. But if you're curious, the cost is still the same cost unchanged from July 17th, 2024 council RFD.
Okay, so, are you saying then that, the province is gonna select one of the options that you guys presented, and then there'll be a budget based on that?
Through the chair to Councillor Dean, the province has already determined our eligibility is 90 meters of restoring the bank plus some riprap. So now the task is on us to hire engineering consultants, design, come to a pre-tender or a cost estimate prior to tendering the project. That number, I do not, because we haven't hired an engineer to complete design, so I wouldn't have a detailed number for that. The province has calculated a number based on where, based on their 90-meter scope plus riprap and bank protection. I cannot share that information in public session.
Okay, all right, thank you.
We do, just before we get, we do have the option to look at that under, FOIA 22 here if we want to go into closed session. It's, mentioned in his RFD.
Okay.
Councilor Gross?
Yeah, through the chair to Jeff, this council and Jeff. Really excited to see that there's at least something we can do here. And I'm wondering, so when we, as council, gave the go-ahead to do those 2 gravel turnarounds, that was because we weren't doing anything originally to protect those banks, and we were worried that that road may entirely fail. So if we're going to get DRP funding in this, and this does what it's supposed to do to stabilize that bank, do we still need the gravel turnarounds? And if we don't need the gravel turnarounds, can we add whatever that cost was to a little more riprap kicking further down?
So the chair to Councillor Burrows, in my mind, the gravel turnaround is still necessary. The reason being the 90-meter protection of a large oxbow, you're only protecting one portion of it. Still, in the future, there may be cases where after we build this 90-meter protection, the water can still circumvent and go behind the riprap. Or if it's a larger event, more than one in 38-year return, may still wash all the bank protection and riprap away.
Yeah.
So in my mind, the gravel turnarounds are a cheap insurance that I still think is necessary.
If no one else has anything, then I guess I'll make the motion that council directs administration to rescope the old Ferry Bank erosion project to tank restoration and riprap expansion based on DRP.
Councilor, discussion on the motion? Councilor Dean?
I don't really know if this is discussion on the motion, but I'm just, before we pass this motion, I'd just like some clarification on the 1 in 38 year metric. The number that I think everybody's familiar with was 1 in 100. So how does the 1 in 100 and the 1 in 38 relate to each other?
The event that happened in 2023, based on the flow volume of McLeod River, it was a 1 in 38 year return, which means based on historical data, the water flow rate was, or can be expected to repeat itself, was in 38 years. 1 in 100 is more of a planning design perspective that you try to design to a theoretical level of protection.
Okay, thank you.
Any other discussion to the motion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All in favor? That's carried. 11C.3 Cold Mix Road Conditions Map.
Just let me go back to my desk.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you very much.
Enjoy your afternoon.
Much more logical situation.
Your Worship and members of council, during the May 21st, 2025 council meeting, I was asked if it's possible to post the Comix Road condition map and the scheduling of Comix roads on county website. We have a map from 2024 through our engineering consultant, McElhenney, as part of their task of doing a report on the Comix Road review. And also during October 23rd, 2024 council meeting, I made a presentation on Comix Road review program, and I made a statement during my presentation that the Comix Road condition in the county, that should be part of a county-led asset management, life cycle asset management or pavement management system, so that we can assess, update, and feed that information into our capital planning process, and keep that as a ongoing annual process, so that we're not dependent on consultant. We can do this in-house. We control our own programming. Subsequently, we have developed a very first version of a Comix Road pavement condition survey that we implemented in the past 2 months. It's infancy, but we did have something to start. That we focus on the surface readability, the presence of pavement defects, and the continuous length without any defects as some of the metrics. So we've toured all the Comix roads in the county, not the hot mix roads, just the Comix roads for now. Visually assess them and rate them. And we have completed that task. And what you see in the attachment is a 2025 map. That's with colors and the legend. So anything that's red is critical, and I should say that critical can mean the existing pavement condition is critical, or it was already powerized because they're probably beyond the point of maintainable. And then the orange is poor, yellow is fair, light green is good, and dark green is very good. And we added one more color, blue, to identify any roads that were currently should be under construction in the current year. If a road that's already tendered to just waiting for construction to start, there's no point of doing evaluation on that road anymore, right? You're already proceeding. So we have updated the 2024 map into a 2025 map, and it is ready. If council's happy with the content of the map or the level of detail on the map, we're capable of moving or posting this map onto county website. I'll stop for
Councillor Dean and Councillor Wilhelm.
Just through the chair to Jeff, just some clarification around that color coding. So blue, you're saying those are roads that are scheduled to be repaired, to be rehabilitated. Am I correct in assuming that they're scheduled to be rehabilitated, but it might not be in the current year, might be next year?
through the chair to Councillor Dean, let me rephrase it. Blue means construction, it's in current year. So,
We're done.
right.
All right, thank you.
Councillor Wilhelm?
Through the chair to admin, so with these now visual assessments that you've done, are you guys going, I know we've got basically a 5-year plan set out for rehabilitation. Are we going to be shifting priorities on some of these roads based off of your visual indications or the survey that you did on the roads?
Through the chair to Councillor Wing, can I just ask you to hold your question, because I think it's going to be addressing my second part of my RFD.
Okay.
If I can continue. So hopefully by posting the 2025 condition map that address council's request for the first part. On the second part of council's request is to post the scheduling of the map on county website. It is my advice, because we will be working towards updating cost estimates based on the most recent tender information. As council probably have may remember from our May discussion that the prices are going to be higher than our estimate due to the, well, mostly the base situation that some of the roads. So we will have to go back to update those costing information. And yes, through the updating of those information, there can be scheduling changes. And one more thing that can also make a change is bundling. Because when you bundle same type of projects, as many as you can, that really gives you the benefit of economy of scale, which I'm really trying to get as much work done as possible given the money that we have. So scheduling will change, and that's one of the reasons my advice not to post any scheduling at this time, because whenever we post, the information may not be accurate in a few months, and why do we keep changing information anyway, right? So that would be my advice on that topic. However, hopefully by the time the 2026 budget is approved, will be the time that we can generate another map for the future years to show programming information with some sort of disclaimer that programming is something that's subject to change. It's a lot easier to predict what's going to happen the next year. It's a lot harder to predict what's going to happen in 5 years. Mm-hmm. So that's the end of my presentation. Thank you.
All right, Councillor Wilhelm and Councillor Dean.
Sorry, he answered my question.
Okay, Councillor Dean.
Yeah, I want to piggyback on a comment that Councillor Prestich had made with respect to planning and presentation to council, and then, subsequently being able to present something to our residents. Understand how you say it's still a work in process, you don't want to attach specific dates. Having this available in its current form without necessary dates is still a big step forward from anything that we've had in the past, and I appreciate the work that you put into it. And with that being said, I'd move that council receive the 2025 Coldness Road condition map update for information.
Thank you, Councillor. Discussion to the motion? Not seeing any, I'll call the question. All in favor? It's moved. 11C.4 Q2 2025 Infrastructure Services Report.
Your worship, members, council, I have made some updates to the format. I'll just quickly talk about the changes. Every single project on the list, if they're not completed, I've added the phase of the project to tell council which phase we're currently in for those projects. I've also added estimated timeline that in a more defined format. And thirdly, I've also added for those in progress projects, whether I forecast the budget to be over, under, or at budget. So council have an understanding of what can be a surplus or overage or zero. I should say the budget numbers that you see, they're total project budgets. They're not necessarily just for example, a large construction project. It may not just be for construction, it could also be construction plus engineering, right? Because that's the total project budget. With that, I'll go into select project updates, and at the end, if councillor have specific questions, I can take them at the end for capital projects. So for number one, the Harlech Canyon stairs replacement, we advertised phase 2 of the stair replacement. The first phase of the stairs already in service. If you have visited Harlech Canyon, you've seen the first phase of the stairs already in place. And number 5, the airport, as I updated council, we were not successful in our STIP application. We are working with our design consultant to determine at what time point that the asphalt the continued deterioration of the asphalt would trigger another increase in thickness, which will increase on project cost. Councillors may recall that we reduced the thickness from 100 mil to 75 mil. That reduced the cost from 7 million down to $5.2 million. But that only lasts a few, maybe even less than a few years, because as asphalt keeps deteriorating, the next time you overlay, you need to increase your thickness to account for deterioration. So we are working with our consultant to try to determine where's that point and provide that information to council. Number 7 for Carlson, we have finished our review on the report. We're just waiting for scheduling a meeting with the consultant so that we can finalize the report for public. For taking to council to inform council on potential next steps, which may include a public engagement session before we're proceeding to further steps. Number 8 and number 9, council are already being briefed today. And item 10, the 2 bridge file replacement. The 73605, this is in the Fort Assiniboine area. This one on Range Road 62, that one's already complete. The second one, 78525, is currently under construction. Contractor is currently working on site. And we anticipate completion in the next 10 days or 2 weeks. That this project be totally completed. We're forecasting about $100,000 surplus out of this project, and that largely resulting from bundling 2 similar projects together. The next one, number 11, this is our resurfacing project, East Mountain, West Mountain, Airport Access Road paving, and the West Mountain bus pullover. The project, the contractor was starting August, and was anticipated completion date by October 15th. The construction contract price is very favorable compared with our budget. We're forecasting a total surplus of $900,000 out of it. And that's largely taking benefit of the promise having a huge project near our doorsteps. Item number 14, the Fort Assiniboine water treatment plant upgrade. All the purchase orders being issued under this project. The backlog for some component is 10 months. So this project unfortunately will become a carryover into next year. However, we still forecast to be on budget. It's just due to material timelines, we likely not able to complete the project in the current year. Item 18, our tandem plow center truck replacement. The RFP was sent out already, and we have taken this opportunity to relook at our truck right sizing. We look at that for the Fort Assiniboine through the previous month's presentation on level service on the provincial highways, and after that we took another look of truck 417, and we believe there's an opportunity that we can, councillors may recall that from last month's presentation, that there's an opportunity that we can salvage plows and wings of an existing truck. So and this is what we're going with. We're asking for a plow truck, but without plow, without wing, so that we're hopefully able to save the county $50,000 through the reduction. Item 20, State Avenue manhole and Thompson Road. Although my report says receiving quotes, I will report that we already issued a PO in the past 2 weeks. From the time I have to write this report. So we anticipated this to be completed in Q3, and we also anticipate this project coming in surplus, meaning that we'll have a saving. Item number 23, the airport water reservoir SCADA, that project is complete. We're currently in testing phase, making sure the communication is correct. Item 28, the subdivision roads, we have finished tendering. We have offered the contractor to sign to enter into contract with us. The tender price was still higher than my budget, even though I came to council to ask for an increase. We are anticipating some overages, and we are working on ways that we can reallocate engineering and fees from other programs to cover the overage under this project before we come to council to ask for a formal increase. If we are able to utilize internal surpluses, then we don't have to come to council for request for increase or draw from reserve. The construction should start in August. That's the timeline the contractor give us. Moving on to number 29, this is the urgent culvert replacement happening in the winter. We had 6 culverts to start. We completed 5. Number 6, we're still waiting for DFO, so that will become a carryover into next year. However, overall, we're forecasting a $200,000 surplus out of the $700,000 budget, largely to do with the winning contractor was very hungry at the time of tender, so we got the benefit of that. Item number 33, the downstairs development. The contractor already mobilized, the contractor already seen the fence. The basement's already framed, it's just waiting for the next phase to complete. We're still forecasting August completion for that, and we're forecasting to be on budget. The Grow Creek slide, I took councillors to that site during the road tour. Subsequently, we have hired a 3-year standing offer geotechnical consultant, and that consultant is currently working on a proposal or a fee estimate for the cost to design for a proper fix and for this site, and hopefully we get a design so I can program into future years capital program present to council for budget discussions. Item number 37, mezzanine floor for the shop is complete on budget. Number 38, additional asphalt sprayer that was acquired. We're just in the phase of writing some procedures before we can put them in use. Number 40, dozer purchase, we completed with a surplus of $20,000. We purchased a second-hand D4K dozer. We took us a while to find it, but it was a very good machine. Item number 42, the sewer upgrade. The contractor mobilized Ding. Councillors may have seen the excavator parked in the grass. That's the contractor. So this work should be completed in the next 2 weeks to have the sewer upgrade completed. That's all the capital items. I'll just stop for a second to see if anyone have any questions.
Questions, capital items? Councilor Dean?
Just one with respect to the resurfacing of East and West Mountain Road. You said construction to commence in August. That's a 30-day window. Can you narrow that a little bit?
So the chair to Councilor Dean, not today. We haven't had a pre-construction meeting.
Okay.
I will know that when we have that meeting, we'll have a detailed schedule, which I'll update council. And we do plan to create a tab on our webpage to provide that kind of information for capital projects.
Okay, thank you.
If I may, moving on to operations.
Please continue to operations. Yes, sir.
Thank you. And for airport, the staff are doing summer operations, mowing, and including the industrial park area. The staff also taking any free time they may have to work on minor drainage improvements. When they see standing water, that's a good indication that there's something is not draining. And especially for airport, because of wildlife and the hazard to aviation safety, the staff are taking it more seriously to address any minor drainage issues on site. I will be sending out another survey or doodle poll for another ad hoc airport advisory committee meeting in August, with a few more dates for people to select, so we can organize this ad hoc meeting to talk about master plan discussions. For water, the hydrant flushing has been completed for both the hamlets, the airport areas to go. The solid waste side, the cameras at the transfer site, they all been installed and they're working. The free landfill days completed, another very successful year compared with last year. I have, subsequent to the landfill authority meeting on concrete recycling, I did reach out to administration of the town to have further discussions on concrete recycling options before bringing RFD back to the advisory authority. Before bringing back to the authority. Agriculture services, the roadside mowing contract has been awarded and has commenced. In early July, the west area of Whitecourt has already been completed. They're currently working in Whitecourt Central and Whitecourt East and moving eastward. The weed spraying for Park is completed, weed inspection continues, and weed spraying for roadside vegetation management continues. For the transportation side, I will mention that last year about this time, Councillor Wilhelm gave me a suggestion of buying a slip-on water tank because we don't have a water delivery mechanism to spray water before we grade some of our gravel roads, and especially during a hot spell. We have finally acquired a slip-on tank this year, so that can be put in good use to help with our grading efforts. The road ban has been changed to summer limits on June the 2nd. The roadside cleanup, this is the roadside and highway cleanup, has completed. I will update council that the province is not compensating the county for how much we have to pay to local groups, even though we're working for the province on the highways. So all these money that we pay out to local groups are out of county's pocket. I estimate about $30,000 a year that we are paying out of our own pocket and not getting compensated. I brought up the concern with the province. The province is willing to compensate us for 50% of how much we paid out this year as our direct cost, but doesn't cover our indirect costs and our staffing time. And I said I would take whatever you're willing to give for this year, because currently the policy actually tied my hands. The policy suggests I just do this work for free for the province, which I will be bringing that policy back to council for discussion for future. In talking to the province, I also understand that we are the only county that's still doing this. So all the other counties, they're just getting the local groups to contact the province directly, enter into contract with the province directly, so they get compensated directly by the province. I don't understand why the province won't compensate us using as a flow through, but the province told me that they're not going to compensate any for next year's. So that will be a future GMP and council discussion point. Moving on, I had also discussion with province on Carson Pegasus Provincial Park. The access road to the province park is not a county road. It's identified as a park access road owned by the province. Yet I understand in the past the staff has been performing some level of maintenance work on that road. I reached out to the province to see if there's agreement to understand why and how much. And the province can produce an agreement. I can't find a piece of agreement, but we subsequently agreed that because it's a provincial road, it's under provincial jurisdiction. The county should have no business to spend our county dollars on a provincial road for maintenance. That's what we agreed, and I'm providing council with update on that. When it comes to dust control and selective stabilization, the Fort area is complete. For the Whitecourt area, it's broken down into 3 phases. Phase 1 has already been completed. That's Ranger 120, 121, and a whole bunch of residents. And phase 2 will be completed hopefully by the end of the day today, which will include the Till Pudding, the Quebec Road, and the Cartwright Hill, which is Tower, and a few other localized areas. Sorry, I forgot to mention, phase 1 also included anything west of the river, so in the Grove Creek area and Eagle River Outfitter area. Phase 3 of the dust control and calcium stabilization is the last phase. That will cover generally the Trestle Road and Oak Ridge Highway and any other remaining segments that we need to do. And that should be completed in the next 2 weeks. I see Councillor D has a question.
Okay, you want to take it or just wait till we get to the end, like the last list?
Yeah, I can wait till then.
All right. I know this year is a little bit later than most people would have hoped for. We'll certainly try to do this earlier next year. This year we had a change in the equipment registration process, which required more time for us to get people registered and get people trained. That delayed because we have to do regraveling before we do calcium stabilization, and that delays us. And the few severe weather events in late May also put our plan to delay.
So, Mr. Reeve, that was actually my question, is the timing of this. So, we're at whatever it is today, the 14th or 15th of July. When you say you'll try to do it earlier, what is like the earliest you would see this program happen?
Through the chair to Councillor Dean, there are multiple factors at play here. One, we have to do the road visits for our calcium stabilization because the limits may change every year. And B, and for that matter, we can't do it early in the season because you have to wait for all the frost come up. So we're limited by that time. We also have to do regraveling on the roads that we need to do calcium stabilization or dust control for residents. Because once you put down calcium, you can't really put another layer of rocks on top. Otherwise, you have to respray the dust control material or the calcium. So that's the second thing that play, right? And that regraveling, you're limited by how many contractors you can find, because we use mostly contractors to do regraveling. And thirdly is how do you try to bundle? Because every time we bring the calcium distributor from Edmonton, there's a cost to us, and you try to reach a significant volume before you try to send them. So those are the factors constraints that we have to work with. Ideally, I want to see dust control and calcium be completed by mid of June. That's ideal. That's perfect world. This year, the Ford area, because they just don't have a lot of roads for calcium stabilization, and because the traffic volume is also lower, their need for regraveling is also lower. They are the shop area, and even in previous years too, they are the shop area able to meet those timelines, or at least stay close to those timelines. In the Whitecourt area, just because the amount of work, it's way more than there. It's hard to reach that.
Okay, thank you. And the reason I ask is I have residents asking me, I'm sure you guys get the same question, why are we doing it in the middle of summer? It's no use, and having that information is beneficial to me to answer those questions.
Okay, if I can continue.
Please.
Okay. Equipment and truck registration process, through the revision in May, we have seen a 200% increase in registration numbers. The regraveling program, for the Assiniboia area is almost complete. The Whitecourt area has been focusing on the roads with selective calcium stabilization, and for the other roads is ongoing. Crack filling has been completed. Line painting will be completed by mid to late July. The guardrail repairs on Oak Ridge Highway is progressing. this and soft spot repairs. We don't have a lot of money in soft spot repairs in our operating program, but through our cold mix road review, we have identified a number of soft spots in cold mix roads where it's really that soft spot that drags down the rating of the cold mix road. One prime example is what Councillor Burrows brought to my attention. It's Township Road 592C, of Old Ferry, and that's one prime example of that. And this is one area that we will probably increase our funding as in the next year's operating budget presentation. Is if a piece of road can be rated as fair, and just because of one soft spot that's dragged down the rating to a poor, we're probably better off fixing the soft spot and raise the rating back to fair and let the road last a few more years, because road reconstruction is very expensive. So that's what I just want to give council a heads up. And lastly, we are reviewing. We have reviewed the winter maintenance delivery for the Fort shop, as council had been briefed on. We're currently working on the Whitecourt shop, and we are also evaluating the number of grader needs to carry out the current level of service to see what's the number needed. I officially we're still under a 5 grader scenario, although we're currently using 8 graders because we haven't had the time to put together a surplusing package, and we got so much work ongoing. So we're utilizing some of the older graders that we need to eventually surplus. I do hope that later in the year I can bring back a RFD to council to talk about the number of graders, or the number of grader needs in our county to sustain the current level of service. Councillor Dean at one time asked me about the signage for Cut Cross Road to help people finding their way. Those signs should be arriving by next week, so it'll be finding locations marking locations for them to be installed. Councillor Presley asked about the entrance signs to the Welcome to Willet County signs. They're leaning. We have engaged LACOR to get them straightened, and that should be done in the next 2 weeks. That's all the reports on the transportation side. On the corporate side, that we are moving into or finishing the first phase of asset management system. And we are actively utilizing the work order system for agriculture services areas, and fleet services areas. And that's for them to try out before we roll out to all the other areas. And we are working with other departments for recovery for DRP. We are working with corporate services on grants, LGFF. One of our road project, the subdivision roads, is a perfect project for LGFF grant funding. We are hiring a few more approved positions, and we're working on a number of policies, including the line painting, the roadside management cleanup, which it's the combined version of the roadside and highway cleanup, schedule fees review, as well as contract administration policy and traffic bylaw. That's all my updates, and any questions you may have.
Thank you. Any further questions for Jeff? Councillor Burrows?
Just one, through the chair. I didn't see it specifically, so I'll ask the question, because you mentioned there's some soft spots in some of the cold mix roads. We know that in some of those roads, we'd kind of done part A of a 2-part solution that are in some various subdivisions. So are those still on track to get completed this year? Because I remember we had doing any cold mixing in the colder temperatures doesn't typically work. So I just want to know if we're still on track for.
Through the chair to Councilor Burrows, do you have a specific division in mind?
Well, like the Horn Road Gibson subdivision, some of those other little spots you mentioned that, well, at least I was under the impression that we were gonna get those completed in Colnex this year.
Through the chair to Councillor Burrows, for Gibson subdivision, will receive seal coat this year.
Right.
That's in August, the construction is going to start.
Okay.
That's item 28 on the capital project update.
Okay.
And then for Westridge, it's the same answer.
Councillor Coogan?
Okay, I'll make a motion that the council receives the 2025 service report as information.
Thank you, Councillor. Discussion to the motion? Not seeing any, I'll call the question. All in favor? That's moved. 11D.1, Laxton and Foundation letter of support.
Okay, so the CAO office received a request from the Laxand Foundation for a letter of support, and as Councillor Wilhelm has already reported, it is to acquire the provincially owned land located at 4820 49th Ave, and it will strengthen the foundation's financial position, and attached is the draft letter of support for council's consideration.
Any questions, comments? Councillor Wilhelm?
I think I talked about it already, but this land was currently for Wellspring to put a facility in there, and so that project is now no longer happening, and it's just sitting there. So we're essentially asking the Alberta government to just transfer it over to us, and it significantly accelerates our ability to have our capital projects that we had set up for the next 10 years. So it's a huge step for us if we can get it transferred into our foundation.
Any questions, comments? Councillor Burrows?
I'll make a motion that council authorizes administration to forward a letter of support to the Laxton Foundation for the application to acquire provincially owned land located at 4820 49 Ave, Whitecourt, Alberta.
Thank you, Councillor. Discussion to the motion? Not seeing any, I'll call that question. All in favor? That's moved. 11D.2, reschedule council meeting date.
Okay, and this is here for, to reschedule the October 22nd council meeting date to October 29th. Due to the election is on Monday, October 20th, and newly elected officials aren't official until the fourth day after the election at 12 noon, which will be the Friday.
It's pretty straightforward. I was thinking. Councillor Wilhelm?
I'll motion that council reschedule the regular council meeting being held Wednesday, October 22nd, 2025 at 9:30 to October 29th, 2025 at 9:30.
Thank you, Councillor. Call the question. All in favor? That's moved. No closed session. Brings us number 13, adjournment. Call the motion. Councillor Burrows? Discussion. Call the question. All in favor? Thank you. We are adjourned at 12:21.